Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series.
Because creators are businesses.
What we do is not simple.
Give, the fans everything that they deserve.
Being creative
is like doing a 5,000 piece puzzle.
Is something that you can learn and do over and over again.
Always be as authentic as I can be.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am so excited. Coming from Motown, I've got Miss Emma Nye. She is the director of social media for the Detroit Tigers. I'm excited. We've already been chatting for quite a bit of time just about our love for Detroit sports and our connections there. But Emma, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to talk. I have a lot to say about sports and social in Detroit, and so I'm just super excited to chat about it.
Love it. I love it. You've been in this combination of sports and social media and this digital media world for quite some time. You've grown from an intern to director in under a decade. What is a mindset or habit that has been a key for you to really sustaining that kind of growth and that kind of career trajectory for you?
Yeah, I think it's really crazy to look back and think that it's already, this will be my 10th season in baseball in 2026. So, it's weirdly gone by really fast and also sometimes feels really slow at the same time, if that makes any sense. But, I think the mindset is all about like trying to make myself indispensable. And I've kind of had that mindset since I started. So, me even getting an internship with the Cubs and starting there was just a huge deal to me. I didn't necessarily know that I wanted to go into sports or think that that was possible for me early on. It feels sometimes like a hard industry to crack through. And so getting that internship was huge. And from day one of getting that internship, I really was like, okay, I want to work so hard that they don't want to get rid of me, that they want to keep me around after this internship. And I succeeded and got a full-time role after that and stuck around with the Cubs for quite some time. And I just carried that mindset through, my entire career thus far, that like I'm going to work hard. I'm going to make sure I'm making an impact and adding value to this organization in a way that makes me indispensable and really just allows me to grow and take on new responsibilities. And that was always so important to me because I love to take on a new challenge and grow and keep moving forward. So, that got me through COVID and sticking around then, and got me to a place where I started to think about what was next for me and then making that jump to director here in Detroit. So, that's really my mindset around it.
Before we hop into all the social media fun of being in the sports industry, would love to dive into your personal connection to baseball, your personal connection to sports, and how you really kind of came into figuring out like this is where I want to be. This is the industry that I want to be in and work in.
It's funny because baseball was never really my sport until I was a little bit older. And I think sports has always been a part of my life. I have four brothers. And so I wanted to do everything that my brothers did, which was usually sports. They played hockey. We played soccer. I was a gymnast. We watched a ton of sports. We watched football, like all of these things. And my exposure to baseball was pretty limited until I got to college. And I can actually credit my husband with introducing me to baseball. He is from Chicago, was a huge Chicago Cubs fan, and we met in 2014. And it was a good time to become a Cubs fan because they were rebuilding and they were growing, and they were on their way to what would be a World Series championship in 2016. So what a fun time to fall in love with baseball. What a fun time and team to go on a journey with. So we moved to Chicago in 2016, and again, great year to move to Chicago and be a Cubs fan because they won the World Series, and that explosion of growth for that team and that organization was what opened up an opportunity for me to get there. And I think baseball is a sport where the more you know about it and the more you watch it, the more you fall in love with it because it is so nuanced and it's
Very.
like really complex, but in a very interesting way. And I actually think it's like the hardest sport ever if you really break it down. So, I'm really glad that I got exposed to it and fell in love with it because now, like, it doesn't even have to be my teams. Like, I just want baseball on. I just want to watch a baseball game. And there's something also very, like, relaxing to me about it in a way, as much
Yeah.
as like when I'm working it, it's high intensity because I'm worried about our team winning and doing well and getting good content out. But I can just have a game on in the background and the sounds of baseball are really like soothing to me and, make me feel really comfortable. So it's a great sport and it's a growing sport again and it's an exciting time to be a part of it.
I when you're watching baseball too, and you talk about how nuanced it is, like you truly are. You have all the different pitches. You have all the key terms and technical terms that you're trying to learn as someone who is coming to be a fan of baseball, who may not have grown up around it, may not have played or whatever it may be. It is very nuanced, and there's so many different things that are happening that you're trying to learn and grasp all these different things that are happening.
Yeah.
It's
It's
it's hard.
It's so technical. Like all of the pieces have to work together just so, to win a game. And I think a lot of, people that are maybe not as into baseball would look at something like a pitcher's duel where not a lot of runs are being scored and maybe you think it's not that exciting of a game. But to me, like those are some of the best games to watch because it's so technical and you know that every pitch is so important and the game that's going on between the pitcher and the catcher is so important to keep those runs off the board. And so like I love a pitcher's duel and those games that might seem like boring to other people. For me, being in Detroit seasons, he's like the best pitcher in baseball, and not a lot of runs are being scored when he's on the mound. But I actually think those are the most fun games to watch for me.
I still one of my favorite thinking about your Cubby days, thinking about Anthony Rizzo pitching to Freddie Freeman. I mean, just the absolute comic that some of those pitching scenarios are. That's
Yeah,
always one that I think
pure
of.
cinema. Yeah, no, I feel really fortunate. I mean, my time, I wasn't there for the actual World Series win in terms of working for the team, but I got to witness all of those guys, grow up and play and such an awesome era of Cubs baseball. It was so much fun. Such characters, such personality, and then to come to Detroit at this time where this Tigers team is really rising, and we've had two really great seasons with some really good outcomes and some really fun young players. And so I feel like I've just gotten my timing down just right.
I love it. Well, and you got Javi Baez now with the
I
Tigers.
do.
She
I get
got a
Javi
little bit
back.
of Chicago with you. Um,
Yes.
but it is so enjoyable. And when I really started getting into baseball was my dad was actually at the World Series game for the Cubbies. And so for me, it was really learning during this time, and I came to fall in love with the Cubs with Chris Bryant and Rizzo and Schwarber and all the like. It was truly just this lineup of guys that were just absolutely fantastic, and to see the breaking out of all of that, your heart broke a little bit because you're
Yeah.
like that team has never. But that's how sports is. That no
Mhm.
team is the same every single year. But that was such an incredible time for Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It was a really fun ride and sports will break your heart, but it'll also bring people together and there's nothing like being loyal to a team and going on the whole journey with them and seeing them grow. And I'm still a Cubs fan, because I was there for so long and so I still keep an eye on what they're up to over there, obviously, and keep an eye on all the teams because they matter now the way we play the season. But yeah, it's a beautiful sport. It's a beautiful game, and I really hope that the work that we're doing can help, get more people interested in the sport, and whether they're a fan or they want to play, whatever it might be. So
Now, with this personal connection to baseball, how has this influenced the way from your social media seat, how you approach social media and that content creation side for these MLB teams?
yeah, yeah. So I think. I try not to lose that sort of like wonder that I had as a fan. I think back to my first game that I went to when we moved to Chicago and went to Wrigley. I want to say it was May. It was kind of like a little bit of a cooler, rainy spring day, but it was Cubs Dodgers, so a great matchup. I'm pretty sure Jake Arrieta was pitching that day. And it was the 2016 season. So, like, these Cubs were it. They were the it team. So you knew you were in for a good game no matter what. But I remember everything about my first baseball game, right? So I remember walking into, or my first Cubs game, I should say. I had been to a couple other baseball games prior to that, but walking into Wrigley for the first time, you walk up the steps and you see the field and the ivy and, the scoreboard, and it's like magic. It just feels magical. You felt like a kid again. But the funny thing was, like, I remember this is still like early days of Sports Social in 2016. And I tweeted at the Cubs and I was like, hey, where do I get a helmet full of nachos? And the Cubs responded to me and they're like, hey, you can go to section blah, blah, blah and get your helmet full of nachos. And that felt so special to me that, like, to know somebody was actually watching and waiting to interact with me. And like, it was like kind of just customer service for them to say, here's where you can get some nachos. But it felt like I was being seen as a fan and it made my day, and I think now being on the other side of that, I want to do those little things for people and make their day and interact with them and make sure our audiences know that, we're engaging with them and we're there to hear them and listen to them and we see, how they feel and what they're saying about the team. So I really try not to lose that wonder and that memory of, like, we're doing that every day for people, right? So, like, people are coming in and it could be their first game. It could be, they've never been to our ballpark before. It could be a special occasion. It could just be any other day and they're getting to come to the ballpark and we want to make sure they have a great experience. And social is a part of that. It's like we're engaging with these fans, whether they're, able to come to a game at Comerica Park or not. And we love to see how, dedicated and loyal these Detroit fans have been, especially the last couple of years that I've been here. They're always engaged in the good or the bad. They're there and they're there to talk about what's going on with the Tigers and share their opinions. And so yeah, I just try to never forget that, like, we're making memories for people. We're creating moments for people. And whether it's, doing something special for you because you're coming to a game, or it's something as small as liking your tweet or responding to your tweet, like, that matters to people. And it feels special for their team to see them. So I never want to lose that. I think that experience and my connection to baseball really influences how I think about how we engage with our audience and not taking our fans for granted.
I can tell you, I was in Chicago for the first time last October, and because I was running the half marathon there, and afterwards, I was like, all right, I want to go to the Cubbies game. It was the last home game of the season for the Cubbies. But you truly, like, you walk up into Wrigley and you're like, this is like, it's different. It's
Yeah.
like this very historic place that you hear about, like Wrigley and like Boston Red Sox and the Yankees.
Yeah.
Like, you hear about these three and you finally walk in, you're like, holy crap. Like,
Yeah, it's, they're cathedrals of sport, like they are really special. And it's funny because yes, they're historic, landmark locations. I think, even here though, there was something so cool about, coming to Comerica for the first time and, being in downtown Detroit. And there was like, when I got hired, like, I came here for the first time and it felt like that all over again. Again, I felt like a kid. I felt this magic of, like, coming to a place for the first time. And Comerica is a ballpark of its time. And it's so different than Wrigley, but it's so charming. And I just love it so much. And I love all the Tigers and just, like, leaning into it. So yeah, I love a ballpark. I love baseball. Like, I could talk about it forever. So
everybody's got their sport and what they love, and the place that really feels like home to them. And
yeah.
it's so fun to hear everybody's experiences and kind of what brings them to, to their cathedral and what started their love there. I think that's the beautiful thing about sports. It really is.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their thing.
Yes, absolutely.
When you look back on your time, is there a moment that for you completely changed how you viewed your career or the industry you were in and kind of really made an impact on you.
Yeah, I think a couple things come to mind. I mean, one for my career was like I never thought I was I never thought I was going to get into sports like we talked about in the first place. And then, I never thought that I was going to build my entire career around sports social media because when I was in college, like there was barely a class about social media if there was any, material about it. And, that wasn't like a focused area of study that you could go after. And, I got a public relations degree and was looking at agency work and sports got presented to me as an opportunity. And I was like, wow, this could be really cool. Could be really interested in this. And then, social started to really like it became clear that social was going to be making a big impact on the communications marketing space. And I started to play around with it in my internship with the Cubs and found that I really enjoyed it. I liked the engagement. I liked the creativity that it offered. And so my time at the Cubs really opened up my mind to, I think social is something that I would be really interested in and started to share that with my boss and that I might be interested in doing more of that work. And that's how I ultimately, went full time onto the Cubs social media team. So I think, being open to that and open to something that at the time was new and, just was something that maybe I didn't plan on, but really was calling to me, that really changed my perspective. And I definitely, like I said, never expected to build a whole career in it. And now my whole career is sports social media. And then as an industry, something that's opened my eyes is, everything that we went through during the pandemic, I think really opened my eyes how important the social communities we built in sports were because we didn't have any games to cover for a long time. We didn't have a traditional schedule to look forward to. And it reminded you how much people do look forward to going to these sporting events and these seasons and these games and what it means to them and what their sports teams mean to them. And it just really reminded me that it's, that whole phrase, like bigger than baseball. Some things are bigger than baseball, right? And getting through that and figuring out how we were going to keep our fans engaged and let them know that we were there for them. That was a huge challenge. I think anybody working in professional sports at that time could tell you that it was a huge challenge to figure out how they were going to keep their audiences engaged on social during a really difficult time. And we all got through it, and I think it all made us all appreciate a little bit more that live event experience and made us crave that. But I think, yeah, from an industry perspective, it really just reminded me that like social is important and the communities that we built were important and those communities like found each other and leaned on each other in those difficult times. And so we can be very like uniting and connecting in that way. And sometimes it does feel silly that like we just tweet about baseball or, this isn't, we always joke, it's like, it's not rocket science, it's not brain surgery. But it's still important and it matters to people. And so you want to put it in perspective and not take it too seriously. You also want to remember that it does mean something to people and it matters.
It is very much a, I don't want to say reprieve, but it's in that fashion like a reprieve for some people of like you get done with your workday or whatever it is, you're going through a hard time in life, and this is the things that people lean on to give them some just
Yeah.
breath of
Yeah.
like I can
A little
escape
escape, a
for a little.
little, yeah.
Yes, yeah. I can escape. Like I was telling you, I was at a hockey game last night. We lost. It's painful as it is, but it's one of those that for 2.5 hours I'm sitting here and I'm watching nothing but hockey and these guys that are doing something incredible on the ice, just hitting each other against the boards and having a great time. Like that's the kind of stuff that my mind wasn't on work. My mind wasn't on the things that need to be done around the house or whatever it may be. It was just on this really specific time of just enjoying what I was there to spectate.
Yeah. Yeah. Enjoying the moment.
Yeah. How has the purpose of social media really changed from when you started your career to what it really represents now? I mean, 10 years working in baseball almost. It's incredible. 10 years ago, Instagram was completely different than what it
Yeah.
was than what it
TikTok didn't exist. not like it does now.
Yeah.
No, so much has changed. And I've been like reflecting on it a lot more recently because I'm approaching my 10th season and it's changed drastically. Just from the amount of channels that we manage, the types of content, all the changes the platforms have gone through, algorithms, just it'll make your head spin to think about how much it's changed. I think it used to be much thought about, much more straightforward in terms of a communication channel and even though social has always been in the title, I think it wasn't always the most social. Like it was like, here is a megaphone for me to get a message to our fans. It's a one way communication device. And now it is truly like an opportunity and a place to build community, and it is a place to engage with people and listen to your fans and share things with them. And now I think this is such a buzzword, but like we're storytellers now, right? Like our job is to do brand storytelling. And that's what we're trying to achieve with our content is tell stories about the
Yeah.
team, the brand, the players, help our audience connect with the team, the brand, the players. So it's just so much bigger than letting you know that tickets are on sale and like letting you know what the score is of the game. We're really trying to like connect with our audience and engage with them, and tell stories and create like a deeper connection through our content. So there's so much more to it. There's all kinds of strategy and metrics and numbers and all these things you can look at and break down and make decisions around. And I think the overall message about what has changed is the power of social media is so much different today than it used to be and or used to be perceived as. And it's just a super, super powerful tool for any brand or any organization or any team. And I don't think that can be really understated. And I think it's something, I'm still trying to make sure people really understand the power and the responsibility that we have.
I think it's what's really changed for social media as well is, I've been having a lot of conversations with people of like tickets are sometimes just, it's not expensive for a lot of people. People aren't able to spend that much money, but you go on social and you are able to follow the games. You are able to see clips. You are able to still stay in touch with your teams without actually being there. It is a different experience being there, but it is become a great place that if you're not able to be at the game, that you are able to at least feel like you're still part of it in some way.
Yeah. Follow along.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, I think it's one where even as I'm at a game, I'm like a player gets hurt, I'm hopping onto Twitter because our teams, I'm like,
Yeah.
what has happened? What in the
Yeah.
world?
100%. Like that's where the first place to go is go to the team's social media to figure out what's happening, what's going on. Yeah, it's a search engine, it's like it's a totally different experience. And we all know too about like the second screen experience. You could be watching the game and you're following along on Twitter and checking Instagram and all these things. I know I do that when I'm watching shows or watching games. So
Yeah. It is one where it's a fun place too to kind of relive memories of things. I still remember from last year, somebody had put the sound from Moneyball over Carrie Carpenter's hit, and I'm like, this is great. You're kind
yeah,
of living
yeah,
the excitement of it all, even days afterwards, even after the next game has already happened and things like that. It's become such a great place. And myself working in social media, it's been so funny for people to be like, what really changes in social? I'm like, you have no idea
yeah,
the daily things that happen from algorithms to new platforms coming in, all these things.
yeah, absolutely. And the ever-changing, size recommendations for creative.
I was just talking about it with somebody. I was like, what was it? The really skinny video that
Yes.
people started, and
Yep.
I'm like, I don't even know what size this is. I don't
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, always something new, which is like if it's great if like you want that in your work is to just always be kept on your toes and going after a new challenge and trying new things. Like social's great for that.
Yes. It is a guessing game. You never know what tomorrow is going to hold in a situation. You
Yeah.
never know. I was telling somebody too, I'm like, LinkedIn polls. at the beginning of this year and even last year were massive. You
Yeah.
now no longer even see anybody using these polls anymore because they're just not getting engagement. Like it's so funny.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
smallest little
Comes and goes very quickly.
it's changing super fast. On some of the same note, what do you think people still misunderstand about working in this digital media, in this sports, and the social side of this today?
Yeah, I think just like that it's really hard work. It's really complex work. I think this absolutely is like a dream job in a lot of ways, and to many people would be, right? Like so many people want to work in sports social. I mean, when I look at the sheer number of people that have applied for jobs I've hired for in the last couple of years, it's clear that the interest is there, and a lot of people want to work in this space. And they should. It's very exciting, it's fun, and it's a special experience, but it is a ton of work and it's really hard work. It's just I think people always put it as like we wear a lot of hats, right? And so um you're working across basically every part of an organization because you're supporting like everybody else's initiatives. So you're balancing that. You're doing a ton of collaboration. You're a creative because you're creating original content, whether that's working with photographers, graphic designers, video producers. You're creating a voice for a team. You're protecting the brand. You're showcasing what's going on in the community. You're selling tickets. You're fulfilling corporate sponsorship. I mean, the list goes on and on and on in terms of the number of things that we do, the amount of things that we cover and support. So I think just people think like, oh, can you just tweet that? Can you just post this? Can you just do that? And it's just not that simple, especially the many different platforms like we've talked about that we work across now. All of them are really, really different, and they're feels like they're getting more different as time goes on in terms of the audience on each of these platforms and the types of content that work well. And again, the ever-changing nature of it, like we have to keep up with that. And it feels like you get it figured out and then it changes again. And so you have to just be so nimble. And then I think the speed at which we work is just, it feels like it's moving faster every year that I do this. And to be able to move at the speed of social it's really, really hard. So we're managing a lot. We're wearing a lot of hats. We're doing it really fast. And oftentimes we're doing it in a space where like our resources are still pretty limited. I feel really fortunate here at the Tigers, and when I was coming to the end of my time at the Cubs, that I was starting to make a ton of progress in the way of getting a lot more resources from staff to budget, whatever it was. We were really starting to be able to show, here's the results, here's what here's the impact, we're making, and being able to get a lot more resources and a lot more support. And, I have quite a crew, here in Detroit, which is really fun. A lot of really talented creative people that I get to work with, both on my own team and then throughout the org. And, that's one of the things that I love the most about my job is all the people that I've gotten to work with. But yeah, it's just a ton of work. Like it's so much more complicated than anybody realizes. Like there's real strategy and a ton of thought that goes into, our decision making around these things. We don't just, show up and tweet. We have lots of meetings, lots of conversations. There's lots and lots of planning that goes into it. So yeah, it's not so simple.
Yeah. I would say my biggest pet peeve working in social media is that, hey, can you get this out right now? I'm like, I have a calendar.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have things on this calendar that are scheduled to go out. I'm like, no, your tweet cannot go out.
Yes, yes, yeah. I have so many more questions for you before I can get that post out for you.
Absolutely. I'm like, I have a whole form you can fill out for me to make sure
Yeah.
this gets inputted properly. I'll say too, though, like the coordination, the collaboration amongst just entire teams, I think is what people take for granted as well. Is when you're in social, you touch so much from events to sales to alt product, whatever it may be, and however your organization is set up. We collaborate with everybody because you have to make sure that all those voices are carried across very
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah. It's I mean, I think again, one of the things I really like the most about this job is how collaborative it is. I'm a very collaborative person. But yeah, it's a ton to manage because there's so many different initiatives going on on any given day. And oh, by the way, we play a baseball game almost every single day during the season. Um, and the baseball games are our bread and butter, but there is a laundry list of other things that we're working on any given day too. Like I said, from corporate partnerships to supporting ticket sales, a brand marketing initiative that we have going on. Maybe there's a special event at the ballpark, influencer work. We haven't even gotten to that. Like that's a whole, beast of its own that has entered the social space. So yeah, it feels like every year there's something new that we're adding to our plate, and something new that we're influencing from the social perspective. And again, it makes it really exciting. No 2 days are the same, but it is a lot to manage for sure.
I want to get very technical real quick with this next question. Do you think with how today's social world is built and where it's going and how it's evolved, do you think that virality still matters? Does something going viral still count as a success metric, or is there a new phase where something else is really defining success online today?
That's such a good question. And this is a horrible way to answer it, but like yes and no, right? Like, this is the worst. That's the worst cop out answer. Yes and no.
I get
Um,
it all the time. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like 50-50 here, guys.
Yes, yes. So yes, in the way that I mean, I hate when people are like, we need to go viral, It's like, okay, well, this isn't just you don't
It
just like
doesn't
say that and it
like
happens.
that.
But I think when I think about virality, I just think about like how are we trying to like create content that reaches beyond our, most dedicated loyal fans and our just our followers and our audiences that is already opted in because they're a Tigers fan. Like how are we reaching outside of Tigers fans? How are we reaching outside of baseball fans? Right? So I think most places would tell you that like one of their goals is probably to reach new audiences and to grow their audience. It's definitely really important to us here in Detroit. And so that's what I think about in terms of the importance of virality is more so not just literally something going viral and getting a million views because it was really funny or whatever it was, and then it just like dying and everybody moving on. For me, it's more about like, did we reach a new audience? Did we maybe gain somebody as a follower that maybe wouldn't otherwise have followed us? Did we, maybe even all the way down the line, convince somebody like, hey, I think I want to go check out a Tigers game because like they're having a lot of fun on social media, or they shared this really cool post about a player that I'm interested in, or, whatever it might be. So that's what I think about in terms of the importance of it, because I think if you're just trying to go viral, it's not usually going to work if that's just like your goal. But I don't think you should just be trying to go viral for going viral sake, if you will. I think it's more important that you have like a clear strategy, you have clear goals. We have content pillars here that we're focused on, that we believe help us, best represent our brand, best engage our fans. So I think like being true to your brand um, and keeping your fans at the center of your strategy is more important than just going viral. I think going viral to me just means how are we reaching new audiences as well as engaging our existing audience. So it is always fun when like something really hits, and a lot of the time I feel like it happens randomly when you weren't really necessarily trying. But it was just like a fun idea. So I love it when that happens. I think um it's fun to try new things and see it work. But just as much as that happens, we try new things and they don't work. And that's okay. That's what's fun about social is it's a space to play and experiment.
And I think it's so funny the people that are coming to me and saying, we want this to go viral. I'm like, you putting so much thought into something going viral is the complete opposite of how something is going to go viral. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like the
When you try
worst.
too hard, it doesn't usually work out.
100%. I'm like, it just doesn't work, guys. That's not how this works. This is not how the social world works either. If you were to be sitting here and looking down the road 5 years from now and looking in the world of social media, what do you think the next wave of innovation looks like for you guys?
I think, when I started, like seeing a director of social media was like not really a thing. So I think, we've already taken that first jump where you're seeing more, like people in higher positions of leadership coming from a social media background or positions higher in organizations that oversee social media specifically. Sometimes it used to be just a part of a VP of marketing's role or a part of a marketing department, which we are. We're part of a larger brand marketing department here at the Tigers, of course. But I think you're seeing people with a background in social either rise through the ranks into broader positions in an organization, or you're seeing organizations elevate those titles and bring them higher so that they are higher in the decision making, hierarchy, if you will. And I think that's really important because people that work in social, like we talked about, they wear a lot of hats. So they have a ton of marketing experience typically outside of just what you think of specifically as social media. They generally have a great awareness of the business and the many things that make the business work because they collaborate across so many departments. And we are so connected to the fans in the way that we can speak directly to them, but we also hear directly from them, whether we want to or not. And I always say I'd much rather have, a really engaged fan base, even if they're upset with us about something. I'm glad that they're voicing it because they're not apathetic, right? Like they're engaged, they care. That is a good thing. So I think we a lot of times just really understand like how our audience is feeling, and the social audience isn't the only, shouldn't be the only thing you listen to. I'm certainly not like taking all of their suggestions
Yeah.
to, when it comes to, who they think should be in the lineup. But yeah, I think we really can understand a lot of the time how our fans are feeling and the sentiment. And that's really can be really valuable to leadership and decision making. So I think when I look forward, what I see is just a continuation of that, of people with a background in social either getting their positions elevated or finding themselves in leadership positions, because they have such an important perspective. So I think I see that from the professional angle. From just the industry angle, I mean, if I can look back at what happened in my time so far, I think, it's just like, what's going to be the next big platform? What's going to be the next big, like, you know, if it's not a new platform, what's going to be the next big change in platform that causes us to all, shift? I think about how much more important video content became over the last several years. And how much it mattered when I started versus how much it matters now, or from the graphics perspective, or social voice, all of these things. They just like, as you move through, um I've moved through my career, I think there's just always something new being introduced as an important part of a social strategy. So what's that next big thing going to be? Is it going to be, the next TikTok? Is it going to just be an algorithm shift? Is it going to be something like outside of just our social environment too, that's going to influence it? I mean, we always just need to be ready for the next big thing, and be willing to take on a new challenge. So
You can always count on the big ones. They're never going away. The big,
yeah,
you never lose an Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, all those things. You're like, yep, these are
yeah,
just gonna
those feel like they're here to stay for sure.
yeah, yeah, they've been around for a long time too.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what's going to happen next? But it is interesting. Like, Threads popped up. Is
Hmm.
Threads going to stick around? Is that a format that people like, or is it
Yeah.
something that you could see something completely different happening? Who knows? It's a
Yeah. Yeah. What is the fate of TikTok, right? Like all these things are still, kind of a little up in the air. So you never know.
never seen people freak out more than when TikTok
Me
just.
included. Oh my gosh. When I didn't have TikTok for like 12 hours, I was so
But I
sad.
mean, just absolutely freaked out. Um, what role does authenticity and imperfection play in digital storytelling today compared to some of the more polished and some of the more production size things that we saw in the past?
Yeah. I think it's really important to have a balance of all of that in your social and content strategy, right? Like, um, I think sometimes the pendulum has swung more to one side than the other. And, we love high quality, big productions. And I think teams that are doing it really well are kind of hitting things across the whole spectrum, right? They're doing, big, high quality, long form productions. And they're also doing quick, nimble, interesting, social first content. And so I think if you're doing it well, you're doing a little bit of everything. But I do think like authenticity again feels like a buzzword, but probably still the best word to kind of encompass what we're going for. Or vulnerability, I think sometimes is another way to think about it. I think that it feels real to people. And you think about what creators are doing now, influencers and creators are doing now in terms of how raw and vulnerable and authentic their content feels. That's what's allowing them to build these massive, massive audiences that brands are paying so much money to, work with them for, to reach, because those people feel like they know that person. They feel like they're connected to them in a real way. They feel like they are vulnerable and authentic and genuine. I think modeling a little bit of that on the brand side is something that we're trying to achieve in social, right? We want the brand to feel real, authentic, vulnerable. That's why we like to interact with people, especially like you see us, if you see us commenting back on Instagram or replying on Twitter. We want to engage with them like we're a person, because at the end of the day, we are people. Like we are people behind the accounts. We're real human beings, which is something I would love to remind people about, is there are real human beings behind these accounts that care a lot. So be nice, be kind. But yeah, I think modeling some of what influencers and creators have done to build their community by being vulnerable, by being authentic, and not having everything have to be perfect and super high quality production all the time. Sometimes iPhone is a great way to get it done. Sometimes the stuff like we talked about that maybe you didn't like spend a month working on ends up becoming one of your most successful posts because it just felt real. It felt in the moment. It felt well timed. So yeah, I think if you're doing it well, you're doing a little bit of everything, but definitely being vulnerable, authentic, it just makes people feel more connected to you. And we can learn a lot from creators and influencers who have done it well.
There's a certain level of trust too that comes with all of that, and how across the board with the creator side, but also with just the teams as well. Like you come to feel really comfortable. You come to these channels to find out these sources of information because you trust them, you trust the information. I think that also goes with, hand in hand with some of these things too, and why you follow and
Yeah.
why you choose to interact on social.
Yeah. Yeah. You get comfortable, you feel connected to the brand, and you want to follow along because you feel like you're in conversation with them. You don't feel like you're just being talked at. You feel like you're in conversation with the brand, with the team.
Yeah, there's equal interaction there between everybody. Emma, my last question for you. How do you like to personally stay creative and inspired in a very active industry, in an industry that's, as we've been talking about, constantly evolving and changing, and but also demanding?
It is. It's super demanding. And, like, especially at the end of the season, you start to get that like creative fatigue or just fatigue in general because it's been a long season. You play a game every day. But, I think a few things come to mind. Like, one, I do consume a lot of social media, right? And I try to keep away from like letting it make me feel the imposter syndrome of like, everybody's doing everything better than us. Sometimes it's hard to not fall into that trap, but I really try to consume it as a way to feel inspired and look at like, could we do something like this? Or how could we take this and be inspired by it? So consuming it, I do consume a lot of social media. But I think consuming other things outside of whether it's just consuming media outside of just baseball, consuming media outside of social media, um, just looking for inspiration from sources that you might think not ever think about. Like one of the things that we just started doing was like literally yesterday, my team and I were like, let's go on a field trip. And so we took a half day to go to the Henry Ford Museum just because we were like,
I
let's
love
go
it.
do something and look at something different and engage with something different. And it was super fun. And there was a lot of cool things in there that like you just made us think differently, and we're taking pictures and like talking about it, but just also like disconnecting from social media in a way, which is really valuable, I think. So, being able to find different creative outlets outside of just social media, I think is great. So that stuff's really fun to me. Finding other like passions. I think like assembling my team the way I have, I look at them and I go, all of us have very different interests outside of sports and social, and that contributes to like a really good recipe of finding, ways to be creative in different ways or connect with different audiences. Like some of us are into reading, some of us are into video games. So like what is it? How can we like tap into all these different audiences? So, yeah, I think you gotta like know your world, but you also gotta like engage outside of your world a little bit to stay inspired.
Yeah, I think it's so to that point as well. Like everybody kind of has their own interests, their own little things that they like to follow. Whether outside of baseball, you're like fishing, you like to watch whatever videos on TikTok.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of has their own saved videos that they are looking and going through of like, hey, this would be really cool to create too, of all these inspiration ideas. I think that's what makes social so fun too, especially working with a team like yours that you have built, that you have hired. It makes it interesting to get all those different perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more fun that way too. Like it's more fun to collaborate and brainstorm and get creative with a group of people that have a lot of different interests, have a lot of different experience. It's just more fun that way. So
100%. Emma, I can't thank you enough for sitting down with me today and letting me dive into your world and dig into everything baseball. I so appreciate it.
yeah, thank you. This was really fun. I love talking about it. And hopefully it sparks a lot of other conversations. It's been fun to see who your other guests have been and hear
Yeah.
their perspectives. So I love talking with other people in the industry. So it was great to connect.
I love it. I love it. I can't thank you enough. You guys, I'm going to have all of Emma's socials down below as well as the Tigers. Please go give them a follow. Get ready for the new season coming up and everything fun that Emma and her team are planning. But as always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.